101 Part-Time Jobs just reached over 400 episodes, and we just won 2 Independent Podcast Awards. One for Best Music Podcast and the other for Best Jingle, which we're very pleased with. We're an independent music podcast, and we've been able to do so by advertising, working with brands and companies who we like and we believe in. We want to keep this show free and accessible to everyone. So for the next few minutes, you're going to be hearing some sponsored messages, and then we'll be on with the episode. Thanks for your support. If you're looking to buy your next instrument, piece of music tech, or accessory, look no further than Dawson's. Now with a brick and mortar store on the iconic Denmark Street here in London and online at dawsons.co.uk, Dawson's carries heritage guitars, Harmony, Mono, and other major music brands like Fender, Martin Guitars, Marshall, Orange Amps, and more. You'll hear on this show how guitars have songs in them. And it's true. I've been playing this Harmony Silhouette with Bigsby that you can hear beneath this. And I've now got to start a new band because the songs are flowing. So if you're looking to pick up something special, head to Dawson's on Denmark Street or online. And with the voucher code 101 Part-Time Jobs, you can claim 5% off the Dawson's online music store when you spend £100 or more. That's voucher code 101 Part-Time Jobs over at dawsons.co.uk. Happy playing! Hey, do you play in bands? I did for the longest time, and I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties, and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Stop. 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 Had enough? Kick out mucus and quiet the cough with Mucinex 12-Hour DM for long-lasting cough and chest congestion relief. Buy Mucinex 12-Hour DM at your local retailer. Use as directed.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
Hello and welcome to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. It's where we hear stories from bands and musicians about all the different side hustles they've done, as well as all the work that goes into making a record or going on tour. Right now, it's probably the hardest it's ever been for musicians to make a living. And 101 Part-Time Jobs is where we hear the stories behind those people making it happen. I'm really excited today. We've got Josh and Ben from Getdown Services. I'm fairly new to this band, and as soon as I clicked on their socials and started listening, a few things came to mind. First of all, that they're absolutely hilarious and their live show looks bonkers. And the second thing is that they kind of reflect everything that's going on right now. If you're a young person living in Britain, you're probably skint, you're probably a little bit depressed, and you're not really sure what to do with that other than go out and go wild on Friday and Saturday night. I think the best bands are the ones who are able to capture or maybe reflect a feeling, reality, and Getdown Services do it really, really well. Their new EP, Your Medals in the Post, which is obviously a great title and reflects that kind of feeling, is out on the 14th of November, and they're going on tour throughout November, all around the UK. Most of it's sold out in London, twice, Brighton, Glasgow, Leeds, Dublin, Manchester, Sheffield, Birmingham and Bristol. And on the 29th of May next year, they're doing their biggest headline show at the Dome in London. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see this band. If not, go listen to it, go jam it, turn it up loud. It's funny, it's clever, and it's a good soundtrack for when you're alone and surrounded by sweaty, sweaty people. This is Josh and Ben from Getdown Services here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. If you like this episode, make sure you click subscribe. We put out 2 episodes every week with interesting and exciting bands. I would love to have you along for it. Cheers. 101 Part-Time Jobs. Everyone's works loads of rubbish jobs. Everyone's like, even when you have worked full-time jobs, you're still not managing to save anything. Like life's still just as bad as if you're on universal credit.
Well, exactly. Yeah, this is it. Like, it's just choose. It's for me anyway. It's just kind of like choose your flavor of having nothing. Like, which, whatever happens, I'm going to have no money. So I might as well just do the one. Might as well try and enjoy my time.
And that's been the impetus for the band.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah,
I think so. It's interesting when you sort of see bands doing it and they don't seem to be having any fun doing it whatsoever. They're constantly, when they're performing, if they've just sort of got their heads down or whatever, but then outside of it, seem to be complaining a lot about Spotify numbers or not getting gigs or not getting paid or whatever. It's like you sort of expected a bit too much, I think.
Yeah.
If you're doing this, it's not a career choice. You can't make that decision. Yeah. You've got to just admit something for you, I think, which is a corny thing to say, but it is true.
No, it's true. And I think, like, where does that leave you? It leaves you in a place where, okay, don't expect anything, try and have fun, and try and create a place where other people can have fun as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it. You want to try and invite people in, don't you? I think.
Mm-hmm. And also, if people are spending money on tickets and that, like, as you say, it's crap for everyone. So people are spending their money on it. You got to give them worth it.
I do think sometimes we were saying this the other day. I think sometimes like doing this band has made us have our own sort of unrealistic expectations of other bands, and like we kind of expect bands to be a bit like fucking Redcoats at Butlins or something. Like, I think everything has its place. Like, not everyone has to be these kind of like, CBBC presenters like we are. Like, just to go back to, I was on my birthday last week. We went to a Haven caravan park up in Scotland. We went to the bar there. It was called, was it Bongawonga or Wonga Bonga?
It was Wonga Bonga.
Wonga Bonga bar. And there was like, entertainers for like the kids and the families and that. And I'm not saying this to be like ironic or anything. It wasn't far off what we do, genuinely. He was doing a lot of the same sort of pattern with like 4-year-olds. I was like, this is basically what we do.
And to be fair, it was fucking sick. So.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was great. We had a great time. No one's looking down on each other in those kind of environments. It's like it's a quite a level playing field, and that's kind of what I think. Without realizing it, I think that's kind of what we're trying to do. It's kind of, I've realized that lately. I'm like, that is, I think, what we're trying to do at the gigs. We're trying to just kind of, even if people don't like the music, which I think, because we managed to play gigs and jam ourselves in places that we don't really like have a place to be there a lot of the time, like because of the setup of the band and that we could just squeeze in places. We're not often, I would say, even we're not playing to audiences that are there for us most of the time. And I'm quite aware it's not everyone's cup of tea what we're doing, but you want it to be like, even if you don't enjoy the music, I want you to have a bit of fun for half an hour, 45 minutes. And if we've done that, and we've had a good time, it's a win, isn't it? Yeah. And we get to go to like Edinburgh or whatever. It's great.
Where do you think that comes from for both of you? I mean, when you mentioned earlier creating an atmosphere where people just don't really care and want to have fun, makes me think of ska punk and how the whole thing about ska is dancing and having fun and not really worrying about what you look like. But what do you think where do you think the ideas come for both of you? Like, what kind of gigs were you going to when you were younger?
I think, well, back in the day, we used to play in bands together, and we stopped doing it for many years. But when we were doing it back then, we took it very seriously. Every gig we did, it was like, all right, we need to focus, we need to network, we need to, all these things, which you probably should be doing, but you sort of realise as soon as you start enjoying it, you do those things anyway. Yeah. I think as well, we found it all a bit cold, like the interactions between, because we were quite young at the time and admittedly not very good. So it was like people were sort of a bit cold and a bit gatekeepy. And I think we just realised it was like, this is something we enjoy, making music together and playing together, but not necessarily in this way that we formatted it of like...
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So like the reason you ask where it comes from, I think it comes from just like, we just got a bit sick of like, it not being that way, really. I think it wasn't really a conscious thing. It was like we got put off being in bands, and you ask what kind of gigs we were going to, and the answer is for a long time like not that many, especially not together. Like Ben lived in Manchester, I lived in Bristol. We'd go to gigs and that, but like my main thing with music was just like listen to music at home and stuff. I wasn't involved in like, and when I always found it a bit like stuffy and a bit like, I don't know. We've always had a bit of self-consciousness about not being very cool. I think we didn't have much confidence about that. Like, we don't dress cool. We're always a bit weird, I think, at school and that. And those kind of things, especially when you're in your early 20s, they can feel a bit like a cool club. Even if the people are nice, if you feel on the outside of it, you don't feel invited. So when we started doing this band, I think we were just kind of subconsciously going into it with like, I can't be asked of all of that. We're just going to try and have fun how we have fun. And then I think actually a good thing to mention is early on, our second ever gig was playing at our mate's wedding.
Great.
Great. And that really set the tone. It was like, it was really fucking stupid. That was when the Tops Off thing first happened, and it was like playing covers, and it was all just our mates like being a bit like daft. I think that it was like that sort of set the bar for like, why don't we just do that? We'll just be like a sort of wedding band, cursed wedding band.
We first started, we were playing a lot more instruments and stuff and trying to make it seem more of a band, I think. But now it's just like, why the hell not just like, try and make each other laugh, try and put each other off, scream loads, get really sweaty and just sort of like thrash around. So that's what I enjoy doing. A lot of people hate that. I love it, so let me do it.
And the honest truth, Giles, honestly, is how we act like on stage now. We do that a lot. It's like we just kind of, obviously we're not like actually performing, but all the like sort of screaming and like, that's been a big part of mine and Ben's friendship growing up. So we just sort of like landed on this thing where we started doing it on stage, and then it was like that was good, and then we just kept doing it. It was like we've been doing it about 3 years, and it's only now that both of us have started thinking about like what it actually is. We just sort of running with it for most of the time we've been doing this, really just sort of take it as it comes. It only works if it's genuine, like, it only works for us as well if it's coming from like an actual place of like, it's still kind of, don't know what the word, maybe like novel. There's something a bit sort of unpredictable about it. So we do have to find ways to kind of like, try and treat each gig as like its own thing. And we play a lot of gigs now, so it is a new thing now. But luckily, I think just because we know each other so well, it feels like it's happening quite naturally. Like we've been pretty lucky with gigs. Like I can't think of many that stand out as like, a real duffer. Even the ones that are like, You know, like we played with Pete Doherty in Lancaster a few weeks ago, and and the gig was running really late. It was we were going on when Pete was meant to be going on, and it was like 700 capacity. It was like everyone was like pissed out of their head, and they were all just wanting to see Pete Doherty. We got on, and they were not happy. They were like, "Who the fuck is this bloke? Who is this band?" And one of them looks a bit like Pete Doherty. This is crap. They're all a bit aggy, but we still had a really good time.
Yeah.
It's a good point though. We do have to try and find ways to like keep it like keep that thing going. But it's not proven too difficult so far.
I think you're right. I think it's like it comes from a place of honesty and authenticity. It's like there's nothing really contrived about it. Obviously, we're not like, we're not these mental like party animals. That might come across as that sometimes. You get the wrong idea. We're not really, but like, yeah, that's who we are when we're together. So like, I think that there's no sort of like energy being expended into being something that we're not.
The two of you, there's going to be like difficult conversations where you're like, do you think this is cool? Communication. I guess that 101 part-time jobs. And we'll talk about the other regular jobs in a little bit, but like that's the job of being in a band. I think it's so much it's like communication.
It's protecting that sort of relationship and keeping, figuring out ways to communicate and stuff like that. I think, there's been a couple of times, especially with the live shows, where one of us has gone a bit too far. Like, especially in the early days, I'd say one of us. It's normally me, to be honest. Like,
any particular standout gone too far moments?
Josh got into a real thing of throwing ice. So it was like, if you got water or something, you just get a bit excited and it's like that is a really firm object.
that's a hard bit of item.
Yeah, you can't be chucking that full pelt.
Chucking ice.
You take the ice out of the glass.
Yeah, just like when my bits sort of stop and Ben's taking over, I'm just sort of lobbing ice at the crowd. That stopped quite quickly. I will say we used to drink. We don't really drink. We don't really drink a lot generally, but we don't really drink at gigs now. We don't get drunk for gigs. When we did, and when we were all, when we first started, it was all a bit kind of exciting, and then we would get a bit carried away with the ice. For example, a shoe got chucked once. But I'd say something that has changed is it used to be when we started. It was this kind of like. It felt a bit like it was us versus the audience. That's changed now. I think that would have felt a bit now like, people are coming to see us, and there's people buying tickets to see us. It's like I actually am really appreciative of that, and I don't want to keep this act up of like being a dick. Like it's like I really appreciate you all coming. I want to be nice. We try and be nicer to people now.
The dissatisfaction for things has sort of dropped off a bit now. We're doing this all the time, and it's like the best in the world. You can't really be aggy, and as Josh says, it's like people are coming, paying ticket price, buying merch off you. You can't be like, oh, you fucking, Like, that's a really nice thing.
Exactly.
Because money's difficult for everyone. It's like if anyone's even like a £7 ticket, that could be like the difference between like staying in.
Well. This is it. Like I know that as well as anyone. Like the amount of times I've not gone to things because it's like people go, it's only a fiver. It's like, yeah, but I don't. You don't understand. Like I don't have any money. Like my card's getting declined. Like so I do get that. And like and just the time and the effort for people to come out. It's you don't want to come across like you don't appreciate that because we really do. And also I don't know. It just stopped being funny. Really, it's like.
Yeah,
it's just not. We kind of needed to do that thing. We needed to go to do that because it was like a bit of a sort of front because we weren't really sure what we were doing. But I think now we're a bit more sure of what we're doing. We just don't need to be like that. It does come out every now and then. Like sometimes playing in certain places does irritate me a bit. And you want to.
We're going to name it. London is crap.
Sometimes crap. London is a bit like They're all standing there like it's like they're lining up to go into an exam. It's like, come on, do something, please. Yeah. But but we try and be nice, and everyone seems quite nice back. So
it seems like there's so many choices that go into it. Like everything's a fucking decision, Everything's a decision. It's like, and that, I imagine that might get like, that's a lot. I don't know. That's just a lot. Trying to make decisions every day, like where to stop off, where to park, where to load in, where to do this. That's like, you're making a few hundred decisions every day. How have you found getting into that and doing that, you know, all the time?
Well, to be honest, so just like a bit of context, we've been doing this. There's a few reasons we can do the band full time. One of them is that we're a really cheap band to run. Like, we don't have any recording costs, we don't rehearse, we don't have any gear really. You know, we record, we mix everything ourselves. You know, just us and a laptop really. This is what it needs. So and there's only two of us, so like accommodation is cheap. We can often just, you know, get a travel lodge or like stay in someone's house. So that's all the normal costs that bands have. Most of them we either don't have at all, or they're like heavily sort of like mitigated. The other thing is, like, I live with my girlfriend, so rent's cheap, so rent goes a bit further. We manage to play in Europe a lot. They pay well, so there's a few things that for me make it so we can do the band full time. And to answer your question, I am quite an obsessive person. I've got ADHD, right? And music has been like my lifelong sort of hyperfixation. So all these like decisions, like I love it. It's because I'm the past 6 months I've been using my brain for, like, you know, this kind of constant decision making for something I actually like, rather than, like, for the past few years I'm a professional gardener.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's what I was doing before music. I was into plants and that. Yeah, for the year up to like when I sort of petered out from doing that, I was fully self-employed. So there's a lot of decisions go into that, and that's like, it's hard because I do like gardening, but I don't really like it. I like it as, you know, as far as work goes, it's nice. But when it comes to doing the band, it's like, if I got free reign to just, like, you know, obsess and think about all these constant decisions, I love it. I love it. It really suits me.
Yeah.
So I found it quite easy adjusting to that. It's only speaking for myself though. I don't know about Ben.
I think the main adjustment is sort of because I've basically worked in hospitality, like that's what I've done basically my whole, like, working life, and that is hard work. That's like 16-hour shifts for like 6 days a week or whatever. Doing this, it's like the best thing in the world. Like, all those reasons Josh said we're able to do it is true. I'm from a very privileged background, as most of the people that come on this podcast are, to be honest with you, by the sounds of things. So, like, I've always lived in a house owned by my parents, so I've never had to pay rent. I've got a car, so we can drive around easier. So any sort of pay we do get from gigs and stuff just goes towards paying Josh's rent, and that's pretty much our only outgoing, to be honest.
That's it. And it's
like, to answer your question in terms of the work thing, working hospitality all the time and doing this is so much easier. So much easier, so much nicer. The people you interact with are, like, amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a graft in the same way like a hard job is. Like, bands always go like, touring's really hard. You know, being in a band, it does come with its own challenges, but it's like, ultimately, you're not working like 48 hours a week on your feet all the time.
Yeah,
you're doing something that most people would perceive as a hobby.
Or even, I would say, even though it is hard work a lot of the time, it's that thing of, like, you know, what's that quote? I can't remember, but, you know, like, if you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. It's like, it is a lot of work. It's probably, to be in its own way, it's probably the most we've ever worked on anything. Just in terms of, like, constant decision making, like you say, that's its own kind of workload, isn't it? But it's not like doing something you don't want to do, basically. So it's hard work, but you don't necessarily realize it because it's much more rewarding.
And it allows you, whether it's you or whether it's the booking agent or the PR or the management, the label, all these jobs are places where you're allowed to let your personality flow.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm lucky like I've worked a bit of service, but only part time. And even those ones, I'm like, I have that internal, I feel like my soul is being crushed, my brain is being crushed or whatever, like spiritual cramp. That's a great band, but it's a great phrase as well. You get that.
That's great. I like that.
Spiritual cramp of being like, I don't have any agency here. I have no things that I can actually let myself be myself, which is in itself definitely a privileged thing to feel, but it's not your fault that you feel it, No,
but it's spot on, isn't it? It's like just being forced. I always think like the worst thing is having to concentrate on something that's boring. Like, focusing on something that you hate is just like, it's such a horrible use of your brain to do that for like your entire life. Just like occupying your brain with this thing you don't want to do. It's just like some people I think can box it off and get on with it and do it and but I've never been able to fully, but get a sense of like actual happiness when that's what I'm doing most of my time. You know what I mean?
I think what makes it feel really raw is that what you just described there is basically what most people's parents did, is that they just picked one thing and they stuck at it. And there was even that like, okay, when I get home, we're not allowed to talk about work. Like dad's being or mum's being like, okay, when I get home, we don't talk about work because we don't want to talk about work because it's something we do to make money. That's different for our generation, and I don't think we've worked it out yet.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I agree. I think there's a few reasons for that probably. Like there's one of them that goes back to what you were saying earlier is maybe there's just less to kind of work for now. Like it's like back in the day, maybe you could have that, like
you could buy a house, you could put a deposit down,
you could buy, but exactly, you could build an actual life for yourself. But now it's like you do that and some fucking bloke takes half of it to pay his mortgage off, and then you've got nothing. Like, so it's people talk about like that's like spiritual cramp, like you say, having your spirit crushed. It's like, well, it's no wonder because you have to work all the time and get nothing for it. Like, so
there's no security in work anymore. Like there maybe used to be. It's just not a thing that exists. You work 80% of your life, and as you say, with your parents just saying like, don't talk about it. It's like, that's crazy that you're just doing a thing to gain absolutely nothing now.
Well, this is it. Like I have a bit of a sort of emotional raw point for me because like my parents, my dad's a postman and my mum is like a sort of social worker of sorts, and my dad has been doing it for about 30 years now, and he says a lot of the same things we're saying. He's like, I've worked my whole life, and he's like, I just hate it. It's just having that kind of thing present in my life, just seeing those kind of people. It's like work's just like kind of in a lot of ways just battered the life out of them, and they haven't even got a house out of it. They're in the same sort of financial and housing security that I'm in, and it's like that's kind of a bit of a drive for the band for me. I'm like, well, whatever happens, I don't come from a place with a safety net, so I'm going to be skint. I might as well try and enjoy my time. Like, if I could, I was skint when I was working a proper job. I'm skint now doing this. At least I like it. You know what I mean? That's quite those things you're saying, the spiritual cramp and being crushed and working, all that. Just the knowing what that can do and what it's done to me and what it's done to like people I care about. Avoiding that for myself in whatever way I can, and having some kind of control over it. That's a big drive for the band, I think.
And bringing it around to the music and the live show is that's what people coming to the shows. That's what people do to let their hair down, to forget about the week. It's a Friday night, Saturday night. You go out,
exactly,
get a couple of cold can of Fosters on the walk to the gig, and then have a really great night. Like that's what you're offering.
That's what we're trying to do. I think that's what we want for ourselves as well. Like, I think there's something that's because just life is just so stressful. I think there's something that a lot of bands have lost, that feeling of like, my girlfriend is a stage writer. She writes plays and stuff. Awesome. And performs plays, and she's often said that like, so we come from quite different sort of worlds. Like hers world's like theatre, mine's like music. She's often said like coming to gigs, it's noticeable that like bands have kind of lost that sometimes lost that sense of like they're there to like entertain people. It's but I do get it, because like, being in a band is really hard for most people, and it takes a certain amount of sort of security, financial security, and all that kind of stuff to feel able to like let loose in a sense. And sometimes people want to get like some serious emotions out, and maybe that's not like, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to like being entertaining in the way we're talking about. But I do think bands have kind of lost that. It's like, it's a night out. Like that's really what it is. It's like
Escapism.
It's escapism. But I'm not saying you have to be like I was saying earlier, you don't have to be CBBC presenters, but like just engage with people.
But you also don't have to be John Bon Jovi to be an entertainer. Like you can still be, I don't know, I love that band Hardskin, who are that joke oi punk band. And like that's the most entertaining gig I've been to in such a long time. And I wouldn't repeat anything they said on stage to anyone. But it's like that's part of it, because it's almost like seeing like the Book of Mormon version of punk rock, and like I felt very entertained.
Well, that's it. Like, and it doesn't have to be light-hearted to be entertaining. Like, it can just be like just being engaged with.
Yes.
Can it makes it easier to kind of that escapism, like you're saying. And I think it's really easy in a band to get caught up in all of the little decisions and everything, and forget that that's kind of like what you're trying to do. When you're writing the music and all that kind of stuff, that's when you're like you're doing your expression and like expressing yourself or whatever. But when you're performing, you're trying to package it and present it in a way that engages people. And it does feel like bands forget that sometimes. We do as well. We try not to.
Yeah, imagine that's part of the work, part of the job is like remembering, okay, let's try and like respect the situation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. When I first moved to Bristol, I got a job in a garden centre, and then off the back of that, I got a job as a trainee at the Botanic Gardens at the uni. Didn't get on too well with the like sort of academic work side of it, so I just became like a like maintenance gardener, mowing lawns, doing hedges, planting. That's what I've been doing for about 5 years or so. And before that, it was just like retail. Ice cream is what we did together. We both worked at ice cream together.
Would have loved to have seen that.
Ice cream men.
Yeah.
Were you in the van?
Still say that. There were moments in vans. It was more like at shows and festivals and stuff. I maintain that's the best job I've ever had still.
Oh man, it was
probably even better than this, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Like, this is all this band stuff is just the sort of like we're trying to get back to the ice cream ceremony.
Ice cream brand. I mean, that's bands are doing different things now. You got to turn it into a brand.
True, yeah, our own flavour.
Yeah, that was the best thing ever though. It's like going to like festivals and shows, slinging ice creams, because everyone coming up for an ice cream's in a well good mood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not getting if you're queuing, it's like, well, it's an ice cream.
Yeah,
Cheer up.
Yeah,
everyone's buzzing. You have the best day doing that, and then the evening comes around, and you're at a festival, and you get pissed out your mind. You're there with a load of people that you don't really know, but everyone's like, "This is mental. We're doing this. It's class, isn't it?"
Everyone likes ice cream. Like kids walk past ice cream, like 4-year-old kids will walk past the ice cream van and have like a look of pure euphoria in their eyes. And 80-year-old blokes will do the same. They'll go past, oh, should we get an ice cream? Everyone's excited for ice cream.
And I tell you this about 80-year-old blokes, they love a rum and raisin.
Oh,
that's what
every time.
They come
every
up.
time. Yeah, you see like an old bloke shuffling up to the van. You're like, he's getting a rum and raisin.
He's getting rum.
Sometimes they'll spend ages looking at the menu and that, going through it all. It's like, mate, don't waste your time. You're getting a rum and raisin. We both know it.
And every time I'm going to ask for ID as well, because they love it.
They love that one.
The idea of paying your rent from working at an ice cream van is a really beautiful picture.
It was great.
Cash in hand?
No, it was proper. It was proper because this was back when we were living at home with our parents. So it was a proper Ben, what's it called? Styles. I completely forgot.
Jesus,
it was like
Christ.
Styles Farmhouse Luxury Ice Cream. It was like a local ice cream factory run by this this proper Somerset, proper classic Somerset bloke. He didn't even go to school. Like, he actually, I don't think he could read or write.
We're not taking the piss out of him. We're just laughing.
No, he's no.
No,
If you're listening to this, David Baker, you're a lovely man. Thank you for all your work with solar powered ice cream vans as well. Very inspiring.
Oh, very good.
He's champion actually. He's wheeled that out across the country.
World's first solar powered ice cream.
That's brilliant.
It was good quality ice cream as well. That was it was a good time. And we also worked in a cafe in Minehead, where we're from together. I worked there for a few years. Ben worked there for about a year or so, I think, or like a season. It's really touristy where we're from, so it was all like, kind of seasonal work really. But I think I could probably speak for both of us, Ben. Like, we never had anything grab us really. Like, kind of average at school. Quite. I've always felt quite lazy, but I'm actually not. So, yeah. It was it was a hard thing. Mid-20s, being like everyone around you was sort of getting their head down and sorted with stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I've got it in me to work, but like, I don't, a career or anything. Especially like my siblings, are all quite. They've all done all right. My sister's a teacher, my brother's a nurse. My younger sibling is like works. They've all done all right. University educated and everything. So yeah, it was quite hard. Like, just sort of wondering what I was going to do. And I knew deep down, gardening. I'm good at gardening, but I knew deep down it wasn't like, I can make it work, but it wasn't. Nothing's ever felt like I can see a sort of future where I can actually envisage like investing a lot of time and stuff into it until music really. And so yeah, most of my 20s, most of my adult life, I was just kind of head in the sand, just like working crap jobs, just doing whatever, and then started doing this, and it was like, it meant the work was for something. So then everything started feeling all right, and it's all geared towards this now. So and then money's just less of a stress when you enjoy your time, isn't it? Like,
well, when you make money doing something that you don't mind, it's just all of a sudden becomes a lot easier, don't it? You don't mind if you're a bit skint that month.
Exactly.
I think that thing of what you just touched on there, Josh, about being lazy. It was like, I think we were both quite similar. It's like, as you say, in school just not doing very well, and then in jobs not really having drive to sort of forward yourself in that aspect, and you sort of resign yourself to the fact that you just sort of go, I'm just really lazy, I'm never going to do anything. But it's what you're doing that like, now that we have this, it's like, oh no, we do have drive and passion for the right thing.
That's it.
It's like, I've got a safety net and always have, but it was like, my parents instilled like a work ethic in me, so I've always like worked like full time and stuff. So it's like, even though I know I'm going to be all right, I still can't enjoy what I'm doing, because it's like, you're taught that it's like, you have to do something you hate, and you have to drive yourself to do that. And if you don't have the passion for that, then you're useless. But it's a bit what you're doing, isn't it?
It's in terms of like the adjustment, like you're saying, like, there's a few sort of crisis moment, turning 25, 26, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, I need to do something. But yeah, generally, I think it was like, my relationship with work was a slow death. And then now it's just like, I know where I stand with it. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So my life's work is going to be trying to avoid working. That's what I was put here to do.
I think it's like values, whether it's at school or work. It's like, if you value something that other people around you don't, then you're never going to get along, really.
That's it. Yeah. My parents were always quite like, they're both supportive of me doing music and that, but like, never been able to support it financially or anything. And beyond that, it was like, you just don't, especially growing up where we grew up, you just don't even think about music as a career. Like, it's like, we were the only band and we were crap. There's no, it's like, you don't even think that you can do that. It doesn't even cross your mind. So I knew I loved music, but I was just like, well, that's just always going to be something I'm doing after work.
Which is kind of maybe a bit of a gold kernel that you want to keep with you, because that reminds you that's the feeling. The feeling is like
that's it.
It's special. It's always going to be special.
That's it. Yeah. Trying to sort of keep that protected, really, because it's like that's a big driver for me. I'm like, I just like last week we went to France. Next week we're going to France again. I'm like, if ever I start going like I'm getting a bit tired here, I'm like, no, come on, this is. At least you're not raking leaves up.
Yeah. Hey, Josh and Ben, thanks so much for being up for doing this. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, pleasure.
And
nice to be. Thanks for having us on.
Of course,
we love the podcast. So it's
we
really
do.
Nice
we
to
listen to it all the time in the car, actually.
Yeah,
quality.
Yeah, thanks.
How does it sound in the car?
Fantastic.
It sounds fantastic, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Because sometimes I think like, I hope it sounds good, because it's different systems, isn't it? I know it sounds good in these, but I'm like, what does it sound like on Alexa? I don't know.
Yeah, no, we have the same problem with our music, but it sounds good in the old Suzuki.
Good to hear.
We have it pumping.
Yeah, quality. Yeah. Hey, just to end with, so I asked this just to sort of give it a soft landing, I suppose, is that I feel like everyone's got like a moment at work which they thought, oh, if I get to the end of today, then I've done all right. If I just, whether you shit your pants and you have to carry on working, or like you're cutting down a tree and it landed on someone's car and you have to pay back thousands of pounds in tiny increments of fivers. What's the worst day of work you've both worked?
The worst day for me, it was 2022. I was working as a gardener, and I was working for another guy at the time. And it was the last day before Christmas. So I think it was like December 23rd or something like that. And we were rushing to finish, and because we just wanted to get done early. And I had the ear defenders on. I was trimming this guy's lawn around the edge of it, and I felt like a sort of tap on my shoulder. I turned around and the guy was like, "Sorry, mate, look at that." And with a strimmer, I'd sent a rock into his French, what they call, those sliding doors, and just absolutely smashed it to pieces. Oh, like double glazing, like I'd bullet pebble through the glass.
Well, I thought you were going to say you ran over like an animal, like a cat or
no. I've trimmed a few frogs in my time, but you get used to that occupational hazard, isn't it? Really.
Oh.
But yeah, that day in particular, I had to pay back, and it was like I didn't know how he was like, because he's gonna have to get the landlord to like give a price, and I was like, I had this festive period of just knowing when I come back from the new year, I've got this like unknown amount of money I'm gonna have to find. So that was pretty nightmarish. And we also, the same day, because after that the day was just a write off. The garden we did after that, the guy had like a ring cam, and we like dossed and left early, but charged him more. And he caught us, and we'd said some things. We didn't know we were being recorded. So that was a pretty bad day at work for me. That's got to be the one. What about you, Ben?
You won't do any of that again, will you?
I'm not very good at thinking on the spot. I just remember sort of this intense feeling. When I was in Manchester, I worked at a restaurant called The Ivy, which is just like this really posh chain. It's a chain restaurant, but it pretends it's more than that.
We know The Ivy, Ben. You have the mansplain The Ivy.
It's the brasserie.
Sit down while I mansplain restaurants to you. But yeah, I was a waiter there, and it was like basically any time I asked for time off to do gigs, they'd make me feel really guilty about it and like punish me for it. So they put me on like 9 days in a row, and they were like 13-hour shifts a day, and it was like coming towards the end of that, and it was just like it was in the height of winter. So it was like I hadn't seen sunlight, because you're inside, and then when you're outside of work, it's just dark. I've not seen the sun for like ages. Like end of a 9-day streak, it was just like things were not good. Mentally, physically, I was terrible. I had some terrible like habits with abusing my body at the time.
Yeah, not good.
And it was one of them moments where it's like I was starving. I'd not eaten properly for like a week. And I thought I was going to pass out, and someone gave me a blueberry, and it was like eating a blueberry was like experiencing the touch of Christ. It's like that's how bad it was. It was just like, oh my God. But what was quite nice was, because I've been put on that, because we had a gig at the end of it, the thought of that carried me through.
Yes. That's nice.
Yeah,
There was a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light was Josh Law with a guitar.
Here I am. I'm the beacon.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for the time. Love the music.
Our pleasure. Cheers, Giles.
Thank you very much,
Thank you for having us.
Speak to you.
You too. And I'll see you on this tour, which is almost sold out.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I don't know how that's happened. Amazing. Both the London ones are sold out.
Yeah.
We've got another London gig, actually. Just if I can plug, is that allowed?
Please, this is the place.
We've got a gig, Ben, what's the date? 24th of May?
It's the 29th of May at the Dome in London.
That's cheers, Giles. You're a pro. Glad one of us is.
I'll
29th of May at the Dome in London.
That's great. Dome is nice because they don't have usually they don't have a barrier there.
Yeah, I've never been. I'm excited for that one though. It's the biggest gig we've ever done.
That is a deal breaker for me. I just sort of like to keep people away from me when I'm the riff-raff.
Bring them up now. Say, do you have that barrier? Yeah, you might need it.
Yeah.
I've got my own. Don't worry.
All right, have a great one. Enjoy Paris, and see you soon.
Nice one, Giles. Cheers.
See you later.
Thank you.
So there was Getdown Services, Ben and Josh here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their new EP, Your Medals in the Post, that's such a great title, is out next month, 14th of November. You can go pre-order it, go pre-save it. This band is really, really special. Thanks so much for listening, and see you later on in the week where we hear from Henry from Boston Manor. And next Tuesday, we'll have singing comedian Catherine Cohen. See you then.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.